Hello, everyone. This is Leonard de Guzman with Emily Robinson here on the Modern Divorce Podcast. We're here on December 6th, 2021. It looks like we're almost done with the year. Lots of, Christmas shopping. I don't know what's going on. I know here in Los Angeles, there's word and there's like a lot of things. I go to like Trader Joe's and they don't have certain items and they're like, hey, it's like the supply chain, right? And so since we're like in the holidays and we're like, it's like a weird thing, we're like on a collision course. We're gonna run out of gifts, right? Because children in divorce, I assume besides the children, what other things are coming up during the season? It's just a weird time in just not like the year, but kind of, I guess, history in our lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of, travel issues because of COVID. A lot of people arguing over some want their kid to have the vaccine and some don't. So, definitely lots of things that could cause contention these holidays. Um, but that's probably mostly what I'm seeing now is people arguing over the vaccine.
Oh, so there's kind of like some friction there. Okay. And then
Mhm.
I assume with like work schedules and kind of like, because before you would take like time, like people would time their vacations like if like not a week from now, like now, and then just kind of write it to the New Year's. And kind
Mhm.
of the world kind of changed where jobs like this podcast, we're gonna go through until there's like no really season, right? So is it like how does that affect? I assume marriages. I assume with the children, the families moving. How does this like when you just stir it up like the modern divorce, a modern family? It's probably just like it just blows your mind sometimes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think like people just have to be flexible, and in divorce a lot of times people aren't because it's hard, they don't get along, and so they default to just following like the very strict rules because they can't get along. And anytime things get changed up or there's anything that you know is out of the ordinary, I think that's really hard for people. And I think most people are not that good at going with the flow, and I think that's something that if people would work on doing, their lives would be a lot less anxious because they'd be able to just adjust as things come and change. But most people aren't able to do that. And I think that makes it really hard for them.
You know, I want to poke at this topic, and it's something that I've heard like I don't listen to Joe Rogan as much as I used to, but he has a good point where as a parent, especially among like young girls, like social media has been like an issue, right? Like I think spending too much on it, and it affects the development of young children. And as parents, how does that like? Is there like safeguards? And there's no regulation for the law. Like I know, hearing things. I'm not in China, but I hear reports where they put like certain restrictions on apps, like they can't use it certain hours, certain time. How does that come up during your discussions and conversations?
Oh, yeah. I mean, parents have very different parenting styles, and a lot of disputes are about kids' use of social media and their amount of screen time and things like that. And everybody thinks their way is the right way. So there's definitely a lot of um, stress around that topic. And, a court's not going to decide that for you. They're not going to tell you how to parent your kids. You can have different parenting styles, and the court's not going to make a judgment call on that, unless something is really detrimental to a child, um, like actual physical harm or something like that. The court's not going to make a judgment call there. So I think, though, that it does cause a lot of contention, like if one parent really limits screen time and the other doesn't.
And then we have on top of that, like all these new, I think I saw a headline, like 22 new laws that will be implemented in California into the new year. So that's going to be we're probably going to look at some topics, but they're not passed yet, so we can kind of push it back.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, let's get into the show where we get into the news. We see what's trending on Google. We see some celebrity news because they're always getting divorced. And they
Right.
have lots of money, and we're all interested in it. I always go for the bait. I always have to click on the bait, and here we are. So, we got some. I like these studies, like the divorce studies. Like we had one last time, and it's always interesting because it's all we live in a world like driven by data. So why not just throw it into divorce, right? Let's see
Right.
if you agree with any of this. Okay. So this study's from Deseret News. It looks like desert, but it's not. So here's the topic. What premarital sex has to do with divorce and other takeaways from marriage research. A new study says premarital sex is linked to divorce. What other factors predict marriage trouble? I'm laughing because you have to break this down. Okay. Having premarital sex makes divorce more likely, as a number of studies have found, but researchers are still trying to understand why that is, and forthcoming study challenges some of the most common assumptions. The new research discounts many of the factors that have been suggested as explaining the relationship between premarital sex and divorce, such as religion and other different values. It instead suggests that premarital sex itself might be a link, not factors shared by those who engage in it, according to Jesse Smith, a family and religion researcher at Pennsylvania State University, and Nicholas Wolfinger, a professor of family and consumer studies and adjunct professor of sociology at the University of Utah. We were able to throw all these things in the relationship between premarital sex and divorce and not explain any of it. While there might be differences they haven't measured or that can't be measured, that sometimes people simply don't like a finding or disagree ideology and declare it must be something else. In re-examining the link between premarital sex and divorce, they use measures of adolescent beliefs, values, and premarital communication with children about sex and approximate number of premarital sexual partners, among other data from the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescents to Adult Health. For years, the study followed students were among 12th graders. A fair amount of data was collected from the parents too. So let's just kind of go through the key points. So risk factors for divorce, a youthful marriage. So people who marry in their 20s or teens and 20s, early 20s are more adept to divorce than those who marry later. Less than 4-year degree. For one thing, these people who don't graduate from college are less likely to marry at all than in the past, and in comparison to those with degrees. Parents who divorce, racial differences, having a firstborn daughter. So families whose firstborn daughter are more likely to divorce their families with a firstborn son, a difference that appears only after the girl is 12. Genetic component, genetics may increase likelihood of divorce. Location, people are more likely to get divorced in regions where there are more partner options. Divorce rates are high in the West and lowest in the Northeast. Combat deployment, money problems. There's a difference too between why people consider divorce and what they consider their final straw. The researchers interviewed couples taking marriage preparation classes through their religious institutions and followed them for years, interviewing those who were divorced. Let's see. Okay, so that's a lot of information, a lot of data. Kind of pick and choose what you want to kind of go through.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think that those could be all factors that are aligning with more divorce, but there's so many reasons that could be underlying that aren't necessarily related to those factors. Like getting married younger and less education. I mean, that could just be because you're younger and you don't have the world experience, and you haven't, maybe a lot of people that got married younger didn't have time to finish school, or there's so many other things. And also that sounds like it was maybe like a world study, not just US. So in different parts of the world, cultures are really different, and that could affect it too. So I think it's really interesting data, but I think it can't be looked at in a vacuum. It needs to, have a lot more context.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's an average, right? It's like they say the stock
Yeah,
market is doing so well, but it's like, how come I'm not rich?
exactly.
It's an average. Um, all right, so this one is interesting because I'm a horrible sleeper, and my wife goes crazy. So let's get into it. So CNN wrote this piece, how to tell if it's time for sleep divorce. I think we've covered this before. Sandy Lamont. You really think there's enough room for you? It's like a big husky dog here. He snores until he rattles. He rattles. The walls rattle. She gives off a massive amount of body heat. One of you is a cover hog kicks at night, or takes consistent 3 a.m. bathroom breaks. That's me. Maybe you sleepwalk or suffer from insomnia. The list of why your bed partner might be keeping you up at night could be as long as dreary, or as keeps you moody. Let's see here. Sleep deprivation can affect key aspects of relationship functioning, like your mood, your level of frustration, your tolerance, your empathy, your ability to communicate with your partner and other important people in your life. Poor sleep and that resulting crummy mood makes people less able to engage in perspective taking, or putting small adverse events in context. This is based on a sleep specialist, Rebecca Robbins, an instructor in the Division of Sleep Medicine for Harvard Medical School, who co-authored the book Sleep for Success. I don't know, like, as far as like, did this ever come up for you? And I know this is like, it's like a trending topic. Like, for some reason, like maybe it's like kind of the modern world that we live in, where probably 20 or 30 years ago, you never heard of this. Is this like, I noticed there's more, like when we go through these, this is like a repeating topic.
Yeah. Well, I know it comes up a lot. I think it might just be that our society's so busy now. You spend your day running around doing so many different things, constantly working, because it's so much easier now with computers and Zoom and all of that. And people really value their sleep, because that's your only break in the whole day for a lot of busy people. And so I get this, because with two kids and working all day, my only downtime is sleeping. And if my sleep is bad, or, I can't even get time for myself at sleep time, then it can really affect your mood, and, affect your ability to keep going with such a busy life. So, and I also think we have all these, sleep options now, like, the sleep number mattresses, and like the fancy pillows. And so I think it's just now that also there's so many ways to be comfortable sleeping, people really are like, okay, I don't have to tolerate, an uncomfortable bed next to a snoring partner. So, I mean, that would be my guess why it's trending so much.
Yeah, I don't know, like there's got to be a solution, because I'm prone to this too. Like, it's just like, I don't know. I sleep like in blocks. It's the weirdest thing now. I don't know. I guess because I'm getting older or something. So let's get into the show, where we ask Emily anything on divorce. Topics come up like the start of a divorce, child custody, dividing assets. So let's get into our first topic here. So this is what happens if you meet someone great too early. So life after divorce, about 4 months out of my divorce, though the marriage really disintegrated about 2 years ago, and my ex now, in hindsight, with the clarity and help of my friends, therapy echoed a lot of the emotional abusive traits I grew up around. I fell out of love and with him years ago, but stayed because of codependency. When I left back in August, it was the greatest relief I've ever felt. I've recently started to date again on apps and have been loving my freedom. I've been casual enough to think now I know the difference between what would feel like a rebound and what would feel like a real connection. I did not anticipate this, but I met someone I really liked. I go out on other dates, but I just think of him. I'm perfectly comfortable, and myself and where I am. This is an odd question. I know a lot of people are hurting, but honestly, I need some guidance perspective. I spent 8 years with someone and don't want to jump into something new because I can't be alone. I don't want to date anyone else now. Anyone have the experience or thoughts on how to differentiate between rebounding and crazy times?
Wow, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think the key is, you don't control when you meet someone, and maybe you do meet that perfect person and the timing's just not ideal. But, I think taking it slow can really be the key. Like, get to know them, be friends. You don't necessarily have to jump into an intense relationship. If it's going to work, it's going to work, but you got to give yourself the time to feel if it's just a rebound or if you really have these feelings for this person. And I think the best way to do that is to just hang around them and be friends before anything romantic happens.
All right, this one's another getting started one. This is like a holiday one. How long before the request of divorce to sink in? Seems to be I seem to be in heavy denial after I've explained profusely in multiple ways that I'm out and why I decided to wait until after the holidays to proceed. But so far I've heard is I'm fighting for us. I try to explain it clearly without being an ASS about it.
Hmm. You have to let the person come to the realization on their own. Like, you're not going to be able to move their emotions faster than they're going to move. Like, everyone needs different processing times. Everybody needs, um, whatever they need to get through the difficult situation. Like, just give them their space and their time to process. It doesn't mean you can't move forward with the paperwork and the process, but you don't have to get them on the same page as you. You don't have to get them to agree with you. You just need to share how you feel and give them their space.
Yeah. So the next question is, should I hire a mediator before telling my spouse I want to separate or divorce? So this comes from a question. So I want to talk to a mediator before even telling him I want out of marriage, primarily because of finances. Because I want to have a professional that can help us out. Can I get a mediator to coach me through? I'm telling him I want a divorce, or do I need to tell him before I reach out to get a mediator?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, you can reach out at any point to get a mediator, but a mediator can only work with you if your spouse is on board with the mediation. So you can interview people and find someone you like, but you're going to have to, before you actually get started or sign any contracts or paperwork, make sure your spouse is on board and likes that person too.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye bye.